morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friends Dave Morris and Scott Taylor. Hi, guys.
Yay, Kathy.
Hi, good morning. Woo-hoo-hoo. So I am so excited to introduce these two wonderful men to you, especially if you haven't experienced either one of them in person or know anything about their attributes. I want you to know that this should be a wonderful eye-opening experience today, because we're going to get to talk about near-death experiences in a different way. Humanity is supposedly working its way to this new era, depending on how you look at the either the ancient texts or the astrology that we're going through right now. And when you look at the mess we have right now compared to where we're going, you sort of wonder if that's even possible. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how that future is revealed through near-death experiences, shared near-death experiences, and spiritually transformative experiences, so that you can get an insight into and be excited about what's to come, right, Scott? I'm going to throw it over to you.
Wow. There is an evolution taking place. And depending upon how you measure it, like you said, we are entering into the age of Aquarius. We have been told time and time again that there's this new energy that's coming into this world and that we are going to evolve. Near-death experiencers have told us over and over again, like 50 years worth of research, that human beings will evolve, that there will become this age where we finally center in on heart living. And then it tells us a lot about what kinds of capabilities we'll have and how we're going to live this life. But there is very little about the transition and how we're going to get from here today. That's why Dave and I are here. We're going to knock this around a little bit so that we can say, well, there actually is a path from here to there. But it helps to have a little guidance on what that might look like.
Right. Well, I would say that this is one of the most important subjects I think that we could cover at this time. During the lockdown, one of the most important subject was we don't die, that there is something afterwards. But now it's how do we keep going when we've been told it's coming, it's coming. Just keep your light shining and don't mind anything and just keep going. But it's heavy right now, and especially for sensitives, the chaos of what's in the global consciousness is a little hard to handle, right?
So this is like the devolution of the old order, the Pisces order, where it's all ego-centered. And the idea that the common structures of our cultural organization are breaking down is a really good sign. And at the same time, it's really difficult to be here now and get caught up in watching our political systems break down, our cultural systems, our interpersonal relationships. It's all in flux right now, and that's a good thing. And it's also a challenge. Say, Kathy, maybe it would be helpful if we you started us off by saying, that all of this is informed transformed by near-death, shared death. Maybe have it just take a second and describe the difference between them.
Okay, sure. And I want to make sure that David gets a chance to tell us his story too. Yeah, that'd be great, Scott. If you want to start, and because so Scott has spent over 35 years studying this whole aspect of the expanded consciousness and the access to the expanded consciousness. He was a key person in the Monroe Institute, and you can talk about that. And you have your own organization now called the Expanded Awareness Institute. So we want to make sure that we go from the science and then how we use it. Okay.
All right, David, I'll be short. So near-death experiences, that research has been around for about 50 years. And essentially, the short story is that something happens to the physical body so traumatic that the physical body dies. And when that happens, our non-physical selves, our soul, if you will, leaves the physical body, goes up into the non-physical universe, travels around, has an adventure, and then the miracle workers back in the physical world, start the heart back up again with the paddles, or they inject you, or something happens to reanimate the physical body. And once that happens, the soul, the non-physical body, is called back into the physical. And when that person is able, they can describe what happened to them when they were tooling around the non-physical universe. In a shared death experience, it happens in tandem, meaning there's a person who's actually making their transition to the non-physical world. It's their final exit, and they're leaving forever. And somebody else gets the chance to go with them. So that's what happened to me. And I was invited to go with the person who is making their transition, and I could feel what was going on with them. I could sense and see what was going on with them. I was a participant as far as I could go through the transition process, and at some point, I came back. So nothing had happened to me. I was in perfectly good health, but I was able to go with the person making their final transition, which is important because it is a witness of an actual final transition, as opposed to an NDE, which is really just a one-person adventure usually. A spiritually transformative experience is one where it commonly happens when you're out in nature and you have this unity experience where you are one with all there is, and you get to feel the love of the universe, or something that it really touches you into the divine. Now, there's a dividing line between the two: shared death and near death experiences versus spiritually transformative experiences. And the dividing line is the light, that NDEs and SDEs typically, they touch the light and it transforms them forever. And that means that they have great memory of the experience. Over time, that memory becomes clearer. More things are able to be unpacked. And it also means that we have this, as time gets older and older, meaning farther from the event, that episode becomes more and more central to their life. They live from it, as opposed to a spiritually transformative experience where the memories fade over time. It becomes less important, and they wind up having, other adventures in life. So that's the difference between the three and the dividing line between STEs and NDEs and SDEs.
Perfect. I have to say, there's all three of us represent one of them. I've had STE that in contrast, I still remember it and think about it every morning when I wake up. David's had a full near-death experience, and Scott had a shared. So we're all three of us are the example today. That's so cool.
That is.
How about that?
You did that on purpose, right, Kathy?
No. Who knows what I do? I totally hope that I'm being guided, because you can make up all this stuff. Anyway, right? So, David, could you share your experience a little bit here? And thank you, Scott. That was so perfect for the audience to have a feeling of how this information can assist them in their personal growth during these changing times. So that was perfect. Thank you. So, but I want to make sure David gets a chance to speak. Do you want to share your interest in all this? I know as a volunteer for IANS for all these years, you and your wife have always been fantastic volunteers. So, but I've never heard your story before.
Sure. First, I would like to say good morning to everyone. And then I will help you a little, Kathy. That lovely lady that joins me at the conferences is my beautiful sister.
Oh, it's your sister. I'm sorry. I thought you guys got along so well.
That's okay. My sister, Nancy, and she's just an amazing woman.
Yep.
And I would say, as far as my dear friend Scott, and you referencing him on the many, many years of research, my research spanned about 25 years, and my research was in the area of drug addiction. Over the span of 25 years, I went from being a drug user to a drug abuser to a full-blown drug addict. And at the age of 45, I overdosed. I had a massive overdose from cocaine and had a near-death experience from that overdose. And my experience falls into that small category of distressing NDEs. And to condense this story, because to me, and I also kind of think Scott also, it's much more today in this interview, much more about now and this evolution than it is about what Scott experienced many years ago. And for me, it's actually 18 years this month. But I was a drug addict who couldn't stay clean for a day. On the evening that I overdosed and had my near-death experience, what I got to experience from that overdose, as soon as I fell to my bed, I left my body and I went into a very deep, dark place of total darkness. And the only thing, once I stopped falling in that darkness, was this beautifully cut slab of stone. And on that slab of stone was my lifeless body laying there. And needless to say, I was in quite a panic because the only thing I knew about was getting high. I never knew about near-death experiences or anything on that subject. What I knew is cocaine. So to keep it simple, in retrospect, what I got to experience that night when this happened was I got to watch the drug addict be laid to rest on that slab. And there's many more details, but we have a set amount of time. And after that experience, I went to the light. And even though for most people who experience being in the light. For me, it was quite stressful. It was a lot of begging, actually, to let me return to the physical life. And I always reference my beautiful mother because I was living on the second floor of her home, and I couldn't bear for my mother to find her youngest son dead in her home from an overdose. So I begged and pleaded to allow me to come back. In retrospect, again, I would venture to say I chose to come back. And when I woke up in the hospital the next day, the doctors told my aunt who was there, they had no medical explanation for why I didn't die. And the beauty of that experience was the addiction was gone. From day one, when I woke up, it was gone, and it's 18 years later. And I've never had the obsession or the urge to get high again. And what I've had over these last 18 years is the beautiful evolution. To be a person here in this human experience who is always content, always at peace, always happy every day, no matter what the exterior surroundings are presenting to me. And it's taken a bit of time and a lot of patience to find that space within me that I believe is within everyone.
Beautiful.
That we all search for. But that's just a little tidbit of what I experienced. I always mention about blessings in life. The greatest blessing in my life was 25 years of drug addiction. Another great blessing was to lose an awful lot of material things that I may have acquired during a period of time earlier in my life. And we talk about this evolution. It's very simple to me to be loving and kind for no reason. Mm-hmm. Everything that I experience stems from that. So I could probably end up talking, and I'm going to stop it there and let this three-way conversation continue with some questions, because I love questions, and it causes me to ponder deeply within myself. So.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
David, what advice do you have for those people that are struggling with addictions or facing personal challenges based on the insights you received from your NDE?
It's the one thing I always mention about addiction or alcoholics with alcoholism. For people around that individual, whether it's drugs or alcohol, unless you've been one, an addict or an alcoholic, and you're a loved one or around that individual that's struggling, you will never understand what they're going through, because you've never been there. For me, I understand totally. My advice to addicts or alcoholics isn't about the drug or the alcohol, because really that's just something we use to mask whatever else we're running from, whatever else causes fear within us in this experience. And we resort to those types of medications, you might say, or to those avenues to, hide all the other stuff that we don't know how to deal with. To me, I spent some years in a fellowship, a 12-step program, not because I struggled, because I wanted to help others. And it's very simple. The last things that were conveyed to me in my near-death experience were three things. And the last one's the most important. There are no coincidences, was one. Number two was life is one big paradox. And the last thing conveyed to me in my experience was to just love. You see, that has stayed with me in my heart ever since. And you could look at that two ways, or many others probably. But the two ways I look at it is we are just love, or to just love. And for me, I'm a very simple person. And I love loving you. You see, it starts with myself. Although the life I lived was very crazy, I love being me. I wouldn't want to be anyone else. And I never, ever would want my life to have been any different. You see, addicts and alcoholics struggle with the aspect of, I wasted so much of my life. My life could have been so much different, and all those things that come with that in the regrets. You see, I have no regrets of my life. Anything that I caused as far as harm to loved ones or people around me has all been amended over the years. There's nothing that chases me, haunting me. I love living in the moment. And I think as far as addicts and alcoholics, trying to get clean or sober, struggle with that aspect tremendously of the past they have lived. And until you become accepting of that and acknowledge that and are okay with that, then you found a point where it becomes a little easier to move forward and start doing the right things.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's so powerful. I mean, all three of us are pledged to do whatever we can to help as many people wake up to their bigger reality, to their connection to consciousness and their divinity. And each one of us does our part, as you said, David, by first loving ourselves enough to do the work so that our outside reality reflects that love that we carry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Scott, do you want to add anything to your research on this subject?
Well, I love that third thing that David talks about, and the one that said just love. Because what we know about the non-physical universe is that it is consciousness and loving consciousness, and that there is nothing in the universe that you can get behind that. That is the foundation of our universe, this loving consciousness. And in the evolution of the human species, as we move forward into this next era, our challenge is, well, where we're going is to be more in contact with that loving consciousness. And what we're trying to do is to say, how do we release the stuff that we have of the physical world? Take our physical senses. They're sight, taste, smell, hearing. And when we look at those, they're all geared towards this physical world. And if we are going to be more and more connected with the non-physical world, we have to have those senses kind of step aside. And the way to do that is through the path of the heart. The heart is connected with that loving consciousness. And the more we can do to um, establish that connection and to live from that connection, that that is going to be the path of evolution for us, that we drop what those physical senses are telling us, and then be able to be a receiver of that information that's coming from the non-physical consciousness. And David, I know that this is one of the things that he's really good at, and that is what he talked about earlier, which is loving with no expectations. So, David, what's that look like to live from that space?
It's funny. I can use the words unconditional love, but those words to me, for the masses, it's a hard 2 words to digest. So I enjoy saying love and kindness for no reason. You see, because when there's no reason behind it, there's no agenda. I would suggest that we all want to live that way. And the only thing that stops us is fear. And the beauty is, and I always have we've had conversations, me and Scott, about this. I don't care what you think of me. I'm just going to love you. Well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that I have to do anything. I can just allow and accept you for who you are. And to me, that's one of the grandest ways to love. So when I express that I love everyone, people might in their minds come to the thought where he can't love everyone, and I would beg to differ. And what I just stated, just allow and accept. But there's a beautiful freedom in that and a beautiful peace in that. You see, I never want anything from anybody. I'm here to offer love and kindness for no reason. And then I step away, metaphorically speaking, because you owe me nothing. And the amount of freedom in that will blow you away, because it blew me away. You see, I live the way I believe I was always meant to live, the way I believe we're all meant to live. And the only reason that stops us is fear. We're afraid of what people think about us. We derive identities of ourselves by what people, how people look at us. You see, I care, but I don't care. I will care for you, and I don't care what you think of me. This interview that we're doing together, people will form perspectives. They will form perspectives about all 3 of us. Whatever is formed about me is not important to me. What is important to me is how I offer you love. You see, and in that simplicity is where all the grand joy and peace and contentment lies within you, in this beautiful heart, in this beautiful light being that we all are. And people are afraid.
And David, I love that spot about loving with expectations, because what it really means for me is that if I put something out there, a loving thought, a loving gesture, a loving words, you can do with it what you want. I don't care. I'm not invested in what you do with that love. You can take it and reciprocate. You can think it's offensive. It doesn't make any difference. And in that, there's the freedom as we say, here you go. You can just do with it what you want. And it allows us to keep loving, to keep being connected with that source energy, to keep moving from that heart vibration. And isn't that a joy to be able to say, I can be in that space all the time because I don't have expectations about what you're going to do with it.
Yes, the funny thing is, when you use the word paradox, sometimes in an interaction with someone, whether it's a intimate relationship or whatever, the other might say, well, you know, Dave, it's not all about you. But the paradox is, in this space, yes, it is. You see, I wake up every morning to go out into this human experience, to be loving and kind for no reason. It always starts with me. And whatever I put out into that world of the physical comes back right here. This is about Dave's evolution in the human experience. It's about the grandest gift of life that we are all given the opportunity to experience. It's about uncovering the beauty that lies within you. And in a very beautiful process, because it's not like this, in a very beautiful process and Scott mentioned it earlier, about releasing all the things that we cover, that beautiful light within us. We cover it and we suppress it, and we become so attached to the physical experience, and we lack that balance. Yeah.
So I love this conversation. I've taken many courses from one of my teachers where he called this outside construct programs. And one of the classes I took it like 4 or 5 or 6 times, called Freedom from the Known. And what that is when you have these constructs, whether it's society or family or whatever, this reality is developed, and you start releasing all of them and get back to the heart of the matter and let your heart instead of your head run the show, it totally changes everything. And it's a conscious choice, just like what you said, David, is that you knew that this next, after that 18 years, you've had this segment of your life to choose to be kind and cool. But happy is the new rich. I mean, really, when you think about it, you get to choose how you inform your experience, because it is coming from the inner part of you. So with that, I'd love to thank you, David. That was so beautiful. But with that, I'd love Scott to talk a little bit about his work so that people could understand you do not need to have a spiritually transformative experience with drugs or shamanic journeying. You can actually listen to digital audio files and go out of your body and start your journey without being disoriented like we 3 were. Right?
Well said, Kathy. in this work of evolution, it starts with being able to connect with that heart energy, that loving consciousness that exists. And that loving consciousness um, is what we're striving for. So how do we do that? Well, people do it through meditation. They take long walks in the woods to connect with that. The work that I do uses binaural beats. It's an audio technology that raises your non-physical and your physical body to a specific vibratory level that allows you to connect with what you want to do in the non-physical universe. And it's lovely to use to open our heart energy and do it in a really safe and um, and easily replicatable way. So it starts with that connection. Now, all three of us have had some sort of immersive thing. David had a near death experience and he was thrown into that loving state. I had a shared death experience and I was thrown into that. And I don't know quite your story, Kathy, but I get that probably happened. So we had kind of a preview of it. But you don't need that, because we know that doing meditations, guided journeys, and especially using binaural beats, they can lead you into that right vibratory state, and that opening can then happen. And that this connection with that loving consciousness can be established, that bridge can be built so that it's always there for us. All we have to do is remember what it is that is happening. Well, one of the things we know about how to really manifest in the physical world is this idea that, yes, we need to connect on a vibratory state with that loving consciousness, but we live in the physical world. So what is needed is that we, once that state has been opened within us, we need to do something in the physical world, because it's that doing of the thing that activates the bridge, and it becomes the way that we can most easily identify with that loving consciousness and act from that. And so acting in the physical world is all the things David was just talking about. How, when you meet and greet somebody, how do you love them without expectations? How do you accept the paradoxes and or lose those things, those attachments that we have in the physical world? How can we lose them in a way that makes so?
Whoops. Well, there we go. You got stuck for a second.
And is there a way? Somebody just next door is starting up a chainsaw. Can you hear that?
No.
No.
We're good.
Okay, good.
Well,
It was like this big applause. It's like, yeah, let's go do this thing.
Well, I think that what we're hoping that people understand is that by learning from near-death experiencers or spiritually transformative experiencers or shared near-death experiencers, that this helps you have the articulation and the awareness that there's so much more available to us, and that there's nothing to fear about it. So many people have these Kundalini awakenings or these near-death experiences, and they don't quite, they can't integrate the information. And what we're hoping is that people that are watching this and get to know both of you, and get to see the benefit of going to the heart of the matter instead of using the the projections from your mind to protect yourself on every level. I mean, when you let that construct down, it's a playground. It really is. Every single person, if you believe that there is a divine plan with all of this, every person is put into your experience for you to learn. Every single experience builds consciousness. So the more you're open to acting and doing things and participating, like both of these wonderful people are, the more you get more chances to expand that. Is that your guys' experience as well?
Well, it really helps to have a mentor, somebody who's been down the path and they can say, start here, go forward 10 steps, take a left, take a right, look up, look down, and move forward. Certainly the path of the unknown has its advantages and its disadvantages, but I like the it's more efficient for one, but it helps us get into a really expanded state. We can live more fully, more quickly by having a mentor in the physical world. And I'm a big fan of calling in our guidance from the non-physical world who can help us with the transition as we're learning. And once we're there, give us that support, our guidance from the non-physical world. Boy, it really helps us become a more developed human being more quickly. David, you got thoughts on that?
I do.
I knew you did.
I'll keep it the way I like it, simple. And I'm just going to back up for a second. When Kathy was speaking previously, she used the word happy. And sometimes I refer to it this way: I'm happy every day. And there's a simple reason. Come to the place where nothing makes you happy, and you will experience happiness all the time. You see, we attach. Scott mentioned attachments. We attach to everything, to people, to stuff, to situations, to material things, to money. And we attach to all of it, and it's going to make us happy. And after a couple of days, a week, a month, whatever we thought was going to make us happy no longer has that charge anymore. You see, when nothing makes you happy, you find the happiness in here. And I just wanted to mention that. Are you willing to be fearless? Because that's the only thing that stops us. Scott can be very detailed, which he's beautiful in the way he articulates. Me, it's very simple to me. And actually, it's quite effortless. You see, when there's love and kindness for a reason, there's an agenda. It requires effort because you're looking to gain something, you want something from someone or from a situation or what have you. When it's love and kindness for no reason, I am in my natural state, as anyone can be, and then it becomes effortless. You see, I'm never making an effort to be loving and kind to anyone. It is my natural way of being, and I would suggest to anyone it's their natural way of being also. And once again, it's fear. I'm afraid of what they're going to think of me. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I can't be that way. Well, I beg to differ. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. David, I love that. It's just to live from a space where all you're doing is expressing the love that you are. I mean, everything that's physical has been manifested from the loving consciousness that is the physical universe. We are made up of loving kindness, and we can learn to drop the attachments, the expectations, and just live from that space.
Yes, we can.
It's 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 a beautiful thing, and I believe that is the future for humanity. That type of evolution is what we are now embarking on. And with my detail and and David's simplicity, we're trying to give paths to get there. And it's a real gift to be able to share that, my time with David and with you, Kathy, and everybody else out there in video land.
Well, I want to ask a question because I feel like during this time, Barbara Marx Hubbard called the evolution of humanity. She said that we were going to be a new species. She called it Homo universalis. And the first step of it is that we all become empathic, which is what I've been sensing, that people won't, they saw everyone as other, but then now the boundaries of their field and the other person's field is bigger. And what do you guys think about that? Because these senses are a gift, and there's so much more. But what do you think about being empathic? Because that's what I find is so amazing about the near-death experiencer community, is that so many of the people went to another awareness of reality and came back and are connected, brought that a piece of that reality back into this reality for us. And then when they're empathically sharing it, it creates a field in my experience. What do you guys think?
Scott?
Sure. I love the word empathic. At the beginning, we talked about the ability for us to be able to sense that divine love that's coming from the loving consciousness that is the universe. I would, because I'm detail oriented, sorry, David. One of the things that those of us that have done this work know about being empathic is that, we have the five senses. I'm sorry, let me start that over. The near-death experience has allowed us to be receptive, to be empathic. And ways that we are empathic, usually there's the duplicate of our five physical senses. So it's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, smelling, and tasting. So we get information from the non-physical world that way. But there's also five other senses that work in this space that, if you know that they're there, you can be empathic to them too. And that is synesthesia, which is the idea that senses are mixed, where you might smell a color. First time that happens to you, it's a little weird, but after a while, you begin to realize that is a very rich way to get information in. Imagination is one, paired with creativity. That comes from this space, so let's use it. Emotions. You're in a space and all of a sudden you're feeling something, you're going, it's not mine, where's this coming from? Intuition, of course, you just know something, there's no context for it. And the last one And I'm for last because
Okay.
whatever, it's
You froze up again, Scott.
Yeah. What was the last one?
the last one is synchronicity.
Oh,
This idea that the right book shows up, or the right conversation shows up. For me, what happens is like the clock, 11:11, 3:33, whatever. That's my cue with the non-physical universe they're just telling me, Scott, you're on the right path. Keep going. This is good. This is good. And it keeps happening more and more and more. And, it's just the non-physical universe telling me, yep, keep going. David, you're up.
You mentioned a word there that I'll piggyback off of, and I'll go, you're very detailed. Me, let's go simple. But you mentioned a word there, work. People on the spiritual journey, a lot of times you'll hear them say, boy, I got a lot of work to do. Funny thing about work, in this journey, I would suggest you do the work to find out there is no work to do. You see, it becomes effortless. I don't know. I wake up every day to change the world. It starts with me. People think, just your average person, whoever, an average person, well, I can't change the world. I beg to differ. Everyone can change the world. I wake up every morning to be loving and kind to myself. And I'm very aware of that in how I maneuver in the human experience. And that allows me to offer that to anyone that comes in front of me. That is changing the world. It might be what our ego might say, well, that doesn't make a difference. Well, I beg to differ. You see, the ego wants to keep duality. Me, I'm just going to love you. We're connected. We're all connected.
beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think that the words don't give everything justice in so many cases, because again, we're working from the quantum area of the heart, and what David's saying is true, and what Scott is saying is what his products and services are a path to where David's real self-actualized or realized, and all of us want to be there. Thank you so much, David. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So both of you are going to be speaking at IANDS this year, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And I wanted to show the website and have one or both of you talk a little bit about the event and your experience with the event, because we're hoping that more people, whether they come to Chicago at the end of the month and experience this remarkable group of speakers and experiencers, whether they do that or if they watch it on live stream, we want as many people as possible to have the benefit of this experience, because it is a potentially life-changing experience. So I'm going to pull up the site, and here, let's show the image here. So Dr. Raymond Moody is going to be there, and this is the 50-year anniversary of his book Life After Life. Isn't that amazing? So Scott,
Fantastic.
speak to this, or
So I have been the MC for this conference for 18 years, something on that order. And
yes,
this is a conference where about half the people have had an NDE, SDE, STE, so they're experiencers in some flavor. The other half of people are just dedicated to, trying to live a beautiful life, like David. And, the easiest thing to say is that my tribe is here. It is a hard experience with all of the extraordinary people that come to this place. Um, and I know, David, that you have that experience because David's the one that greets you when you get there.
yep.
Well, me and my sister Nancy started volunteering back in 2019, and we've every year been at the table where all the name badges are for registration. So we get to meet everybody who's going to be at that conference, and it is the greatest job or volunteer position to have because you get to interact with everybody, and we have so much fun with that. So we'll be doing that again. But the other thing I would mention quickly about the presentation me and Scott are going to do together will be very little about our shared death experience or my near-death experience, and we'll condense that to a real small portion. But my hope for that is just to have a lot of interaction, a lot of questions that we can toss back and forth with the group.
Good.
Because in conversing with Scott the other day, the word team got mentioned, and I say everyone who's in that presentation is part of the team. So let's just have a nice team effort and see what you can do today. It's not about my experience 18 years ago. It's about what transformed during that experience and how I've nurtured it these last 18 years to live the way anyone can live.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I can tell you, I've been a volunteer. Scott was on the board for IONS, but I'm still working, so I can't do all of that. But I've been a volunteer. I think this is my 7th year, and the energy of the event is palpable. If you're sensitive at all, this is like going into a vortex in Sedona, where you walk in and you are in a different, very safe, loving cocoon of energy with other people that are doing their best. Like David is every morning, they've touched a different realm and they want to live from that perspective here now. And when you go into that environment, you know you're home. It's like your soul family, your community. That's what Scott had just said. It's quite amazing. And the sense of humor of it is quite amazing as well, because if anyone's put on a large event like this before, there's lots of things going on in the background as we're trying to make it all look seamless to all the participants. And everyone tries so hard to have a wonderful, loving sense of humor as we're working together. It's really quite amazing. Wouldn't you say that, Scott and David?
This is one of the most heart-centered places that you can be, and this is a place where we can start on the evolution of the species. And before the workshop, I mean, before the conference, there is a workshop that I'm teaching where I'm actually using binaural beats to help people open up this path. So if this tickles your fancy, come a little bit ahead of time and we'll spend an afternoon practicing opening the heart and connecting with that loving consciousness. And that will lead us right into a very loving space at the conference.
And you're also one of the luncheon speakers on Thursday on Thursday, right? And there's your workshop right there. So if you go to conference.ions.org, you can see all of this. I know it's probably too small to see on the screen right now, but I really want to encourage you to go there and consider, if you can't come to Chicago this year, consider doing the online. You will be so happy you did. You do get all the recordings, and quite a bit of the huge number of speakers will be recorded. So instead of watching Netflix for the next 6 months, you can watch this, and it will be a huge eye-opener to you. I just can't say enough about the opportunity for personal growth and bringing in the new earth from this, right?
So when you arrive at the conference and you get your badge, because you've watched this particular video, you get a free hug from David.
And Nancy.
High five there. Great. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you both so much. And I'm so fortunate to know both of you. And thank you for all the blessings you do for the world. And for me personally, I've benefited very much from this friendship with both of you. Thank you. So, and please, everyone that's watching this, please share this. If you have friends or family that could benefit from this, all of us need this support. So please share this presentation so that more people can know and get the resources that they need during these changing times. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bless you both.